All right.
Our next player here, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, had the monster week 2, Lawrence, and then came back down to earth in week 3. It's kind of been the Jaxon Smith-Njigba roller coaster this season so far.
Yeah, he basically flip-flopping every week. So if you go by that pattern, well, this is the week he goes off. I'm going to keep it open, but not for that reason. They're going against the Lions, who, when you look at what the Lions have done against guys who play in the slot this year, Chris Godwin was wide receiver 6 versus the Lions. Cooper Kupp was wide receiver 2 against the Lions. And then Greg Dortch didn't have the great game, but he's a number 3 option in offense. So I expect Jaxon to get back on track here. He's out snapping Tyler Lockett this season, 83% to 64% despite being in the slot. I have him at wide receiver 28 this week, so I'm going to keep that open.
He's got a 94% route participation for the year. Last week, 100%. And only 2 teams in the NFL, to your point about the matchup, Lawrence, only 2 teams in the NFL allow more catches and more yards to the slot than the Detroit Lions. Some of that skewed by the big week 1 that Cooper Kupp had against them. But nonetheless, last week the game got away from the Dolphins. Obviously, the Seahawks didn't have to throw all that much as well. So, you think about, you mentioned the over-under at 47. It's the 3rd highest game total in week 4 at the moment, tied for the 3rd highest. So I'm keeping it open. I'm as a top 30 play this week. I'm a believer in JSN's talent and this Ryan Grubb-led offense.
Bad week for Rashid Shaheed, guys. The goose egg in a week that was just not good for the Saints offense, their first real struggle. They got the Falcons this week, Matthew. Despite the goose egg last week, can you keep this one open?
I am keeping it open. I'm at wide receiver 33. I get it. There was a concern that, listen, Carr was off. Only 20% of Rashid Shaheed's targets last year were deemed catchable. But, look, they're always going to take shots, right? He's got an 18.8 average depth of target. Over 50% of his targets this year have come on deep passes. So going up against the Atlanta Falcons, where Rashid Shaheed has a 20% target share in every game this season and 85% route participation as well. We expect, I think that they're going to have to take some deep shots. That my expectation is that the Falcons, as a lot of teams have, try to focus on stopping Chris Olave. They'll take some shots to Rashid Shaheed. So I'm keeping it open. Like he's been too good. The Saints have been too good. Carr has been too good through 2 of the first 3 weeks to bail on Shaheed. We liked him. He's out there a lot. He's one play. All he needs is that one play to make your day. I'm keeping it open. Again, he's my wide receiver 33 this week.
I'm going to bail.
Really?
I'm going to bail.
Wow.
Yeah, I started him in the League of Assholes versus Big Show.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It didn't go good.
No, I know.
It didn't go good, Matthew. I'm going to give him another chance, but for this week only, because he's playing the Falcons, the 11th best pass defense in the league. The Falcons might have the best safety tandem in the NFL, and then along to go one of the best corners in the league. Rashid Shaheed has caught 7 passes in 3 games. 2 of those are for 70 and for 59 yards. The Falcons have given up one long reception this year, 40 yards. It was George Pickens. Xavier Worthy couldn't get deep on him, although I would expect a better chance for Rashid Shaheed. I would expect him to have better chances than Worthy. But just all those factors, I'm going to close. I got him at wide receiver 39 because one play could change his whole game, and I could be sitting here looking at Rashid Shaheed on my bench with 22 points because he popped off for 60 yards. But I think the Falcons' defensive back end is the best part of their defense, and I think they got to focus on Olave, but it's like you got to know that Rashid Shaheed, he's a different type of threat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to your point, Raheem Morris likes to play back. He doesn't want to give up the big play. This is something we saw against the Chiefs as well. But the problem here is again, it's not like Olave is, a guy that doesn't run deep routes, that can't beat you deep either as well. And so I just think at some point you pick your poison. They have such an effective run game with Kamara as well. Carr is so good off play action. Again, Rashid Shaheed is just not a guy you can single cover. And I get that the Falcons are really good on the back end, but I also think, Connor, and you can speak to this better than I can, but I also feel like Shaheed is no longer just a nothing but go routes. Like he's improved his number two receiver.
He's definitely that. The numbers wouldn't suggest it at this point, but we even saw during the down the stretch last year, he started to become that. But another thing, too, Derek Carr only throwing it 21 times a game. I do think he gets his – he's got a season-high 25 passing attempts. I think he passes that this game.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember, though, the first 2 games, they blew everyone out. They didn't need to throw. Second game against the third game against the Eagles was super tight, and it was a defensive battle between 2 good defenses.
3 weird scripts.
3 weird.
Sure.
So I think that in a normal game script, Derek Carr's thrown it 30 times a game, if not more.
Lawrence, you brought up Xavier Worthy. He's got the Chargers this week. He's under 20 receiving yards in back-to-back games after that really exciting week 1, which, to be fair, we were like, let's cool it about this. There's some flukiness here. But even this feels below expectations right now, where there's no way you could start Xavier Worthy this week, right?
Nah. Like when I closed it on Rashid Shaheed, it was like a slow door close. This is a slam door shut right here. I mean, Xavier Worthy was wide receiver 11 after week 1. He's now wide receiver 46. The last 2 games, he has 5 or less fantasy points, and that's full PPR. 6 catches, 81 yards, and 1 TD. In 3 games, and that's including that 35-yard busted coverage that he was able to benefit off of in week 1 against the Ravens. So, and then the Chargers are the 7th best against receivers in fantasy. So you put all that together, the Chiefs are winning just throwing it to Rashee Rice. Like, that's the only person Patrick Mahomes throws to, and they can't cover him. So why kind of force it to Worthy when you kind of got something going in the passing game? I got him as wide receiver 43 this week. I'll close it out on this week till I see him more involved.
I agree with you. I'm also closing it out. I have him even lower than you. I'm at wide receiver 47. He is, from a fantasy perspective only, at the moment, he's a sexier Mecole Hardman. In all seriousness, the thing about Mecole Hardman, I get the talent of Xavier Worthy and where I think long-term he's going to be a very good wide receiver in the NFL. But at the moment, they're using him on jet sweeps. They're using him in gadget plays. They're sending him deep on a couple of go routes. But honestly, so he's basically, how lucky do you feel? Do you think he gets in the end zone? We saw him get in the end zone twice on 3 touches in week 1 against the Ravens. But since then, he's had back-to-back games with under 20 receiving yards. In 3 games total, he's got 11 targets. Now, again, they try different ways to get the ball in his hand and use his speed, but just I don't know if you can count on that. Again, we saw that with this offense with Mecole Hardman for a couple of years. Just the lack of consistent touches, it's how lucky do you feel? And until we see a more consistent role for him, but the problem is it just feels like this offense is Rashee Rice and then pass catcher by committee. No, seriously, but it's like it is. We're back to the Chiefs of old, because it's like, oh, there's a little bit of Juju and a little bit of Justin Watson, and here's Mecole Hardman and Xavier Worthy,
he basically
and Noah Gray's getting a look or two, and you're like, and of course you got Kelsey in there, and so it's just,
We just talked about Rashid Shaheed. That's what Xavier Worthy's doing right now. What Shaheed used to do.
Yes.
They should at least let him return some kicks or something.
To your point about Mecole Hardman, he was a second-round pick once upon a time.
Yes, he
was.
was
Massive expectations for him, and he never fulfilled them all the way as much as he was an impactful player. I think Worthy, there's not Jalen Waddle expectations here, right? He's a fine prospect, but if you're expecting this to be some monster rookie wide receiver season, you're going to have to deal with the inconsistencies that we're living through right now. Now, I know what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, Xavier, what you're expecting with Xavier Worthy is, hey, this guy is all sorts of crazy fast. He's got a guy at quarterback who's a magician with a cannon for an arm, and he's got an offensive genius as a coach.
Right.
And can they take his skill set and make magic with it? And they probably eventually can. But right now, they don't need to.
No.
They don't need to. They're spreading the ball around. They've got a lot of different ways to beat you, and that's what they're doing. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.